I've just been asked to just share a little bit about the outsourced CFO journey. We've never done this on any one of our event platforms, and there's been a couple of asks just around like just a bit of like learning share, like what has our journey been like, and what have we really learned? What have I learned, I guess, also in this process of building outsourced CFO. Next month will be 8 years into business, so it's kind of an exciting milestone. So I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about how it started and share a couple of lessons that I think have been instrumental for us on this journey of building outsourced CFO over the years. So it all began on one startup grind night many moons ago, a little bit over 8 years ago, I guess. The very first Cape Town-based startup grind event was held. So if you don't know startup grind, about 70 or so entrepreneurs would pitch up on an average night. They would listen to a panel interview by the host with an entrepreneur who's built a successful company, and we'll have, there'll be a very interesting conversation around that. So the first night we rocked up there, we were still working in an accounting and auditing firm at the time. And we noticed that there were 70 different entrepreneurs, engineers and innovators and designers and creatives, all building companies, but there were no accountants in the room. And we said, look, someone actually has to help all of these founders with their finances, and we think we can be those guys. So we took the plunge. We had basically an idea of a concept that we think could work, that we called outsourced CFO, the idea of a part-time chartered accountant level professional who can work with an entrepreneur to help them build their company. We basically had an unproven business model, no clients, no contacts, and just about no funding. But we managed to worm ourselves into a tech incubator, which we were not a tech company, we were a services company, but we managed to get into the Bandwidth Bonds one incubation program. We got some free desk spaces with that for our first 6 months, as well as a stable internet connection. So we were basically off. This is a very interesting moment along that journey. Obviously, in the early days, we tried a whole bunch of different things to get traction and momentum. This is me doing my elevator pitch to a room full of primary school kids from a print-out sheet that we were trying to communicate what we're trying to do. So I'm sure everyone who's ever started a company has a story similar to this, where you just kind of like started, figuring out like how do you present, how do you talk, who do you talk to, in which ways do you do it, and we'll get to the rest of this story at some later stage. But altogether, we managed to build a bit of traction, to start building a team, to start building up some clients. We started adding some credibility to the team, and the team grew. We were lucky to add some really exciting clients, guys like Microsoft and Investec and some other household name founder-led companies. We got our own office space, and the team kept expanding over the years. Today, we're sitting at about an average annual growth rate of 62%. The current growth rate means we are doubling about every 19 to 20 months from where we stand right now. So it's a nice and fast growth environment. We've got 50 professionals working for the company between full-time and part-time now. We've worked with over 600 client companies throughout the years, and they've been based in 17 different countries. Obviously, most of all South Africa, but also a lot of interesting places all around the world. We've just launched a new home for outsourcedcfo.com, and we've also planted some roots across the waters with an incorporation in the United States of a new entity called Outsourced CFO Incorporated. So some interesting things on the horizon there. But yeah, so actually just want to share like a handful of lessons. These are 10 things that I think have been pivotal for me in terms of my learning journey. I think if you look at this photo on the right, you can maybe in my face see a couple of those lessons sitting in there. The first one was just the importance of co-founders. I've sat with so many entrepreneurs in early stages and much later stages who really have a tough time dealing with the co-founders. We've been super blessed in that we went to varsity together, we did articles together, and most of us have lived together at different stages, and we started a company together. And that foundation of friendship and kind of like just alignment in terms of what we want to do has been really pivotal. So if you can find the right people and build relationships with them, like building a company alone is really tough. Great co-founders make it so much easier and so much more fun. I think my second one is that vision and values must be alive in the organization. If you're one of the core founders, I think you'll realize as the business grows that, if the team isn't aligned around the vision and the values of the organization, then almost nothing can work. So your number one job throughout many of the years of building the company, early stages and later, is just making sure that you drive vision and you make sure the values are alive in the company. We've built a big purpose statement around why we want to help entrepreneurs and why we exist, that we try to communicate as often as we can. And this is really the reason why we started, to help entrepreneurs build more successful companies and make a bigger impact in society and in the world at large. The third lesson is around strategy and rhythms. They're really absolutely key. If you want some great reading, anything from Jim Collins, look at Scaling Up from Vern Harnish, look at the E-Myth Revisited, and look at Gino Wickman's Traction. These couple of kind of foundational books really form the principle of a vision traction model, where you have your long-term vision elements, like your big, hairy, audacious long-term goal and your core values, but you also have your traction elements like your quarterly planning and your weekly and daily meeting rhythms. Building all of this into your organization is a really great accelerator of growth. Just to share our big, hairy, audacious goal, this is something we came up with a couple of years ago. It's all around that, that almost like career-long journey towards a massive target that you want to achieve in 10 or 15 years if everything goes well. And your whole strategy is then built around aiming for that massive top of the mountain target. So we're accountants, and in true finance professional format, we said we want to reach 10,000 entrepreneur clients, and we want to empower 1,000 professionals on that journey as our BHAG. And we want to do that while our team is flourishing, while we build raving fan clients, and while we do sweet spot work. We feel if we can do this, we'll make a dent in our universe. And if we keep growing the way we are right now, we can do this in under 10 years. And we're quite excited about that journey. You can say what you want about Gary Vee. He has a bit of a party mouth, but he has some really great ideas on marketing and branding. He recently did a talk where he was quoted saying, just brand is everything. As one of the founders, I think, it's your job to share the story, to be the biggest fan of the organization, to be like Mike. Like, if you guys don't follow Mike Scott on LinkedIn already, please do so. He's an excellent advocate of Nona that you guys will hear about a little bit later. But really do advocate the brand of the organization. From a marketing perspective, don't market, try to find ways to add value was one of our big lessons, kind of share ideas, share know-how, bring people together, don't push product. Really, it's really kind of like putting out value and conversations come to you. A big early lesson for us was also don't sell, listen. Don't try to push your product and try to say what you can do too much. Really listen to what the other person on the other side of the table is really looking for, and try to find those pain points and work through that. Structure sets you free is number 7. Create divisions, build good reporting structures, create role clarity, set KPIs, create playbooks, and empower your leaders. This is really what helps the founders not go crazy as the organization scales. Make sure that cash flow is the heartbeat of the organization. If cash flow isn't working, then nothing is working. So firstly, you must grow, but then you must figure out how to be profitable and how to turn that profit into cash. So really kind of let the numbers lead you in that. Number 9 is business is all about people. Never overvalue relationships. Every team member, invest in their growth, their journey, their connection with you. Give credit and give feedback, and really double down on your team. And then think big is number 10. South Africa is only 0.25% of the global GDP, which I found quite an interesting stat when I came across this a little while ago. So if you want to build a significant company, thinking worldwide is quite an exciting thing. I think it's more possible now than ever before in history. And then last bonus lesson, I would say, don't burn out. This has been one of my core lessons, just keep the pace manageable. There are so many asks, but for you as a founder not to burn out is an absolutely critical thing as you push forward through